Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Today we are live. We have tea time, as I always say. Today we have a little bit of misty morning, and that is it. Nice and clean. So good, guys. So good. So glad that you're hanging out, having your cup of tea, maybe some coffee. Depends on what part of the planet you're on. I know I have a great guy with me today, Stuart Wood, and he's in the UK, and we always fight about coffee and tea all the time. I'm the guy that should be drinking coffee, and instead, he's drinking coffee. What's going on? How's it going?
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Got to correct you. It's not coffee and tea. It's original Coke this time. It's a nice original taste flavor Coca-Cola.
Gotcha.
Don't let the dentist know that I'm drinking it. Yeah.
Yeah, he'll definitely be pissed.
Well, I can get away with things on your channel because he doesn't watch your channel. So.
Oh, okay. Then, yeah, that's right. That's right. I know. He rubs. See, he's rubbing it in because his channel is a lot larger than mine.
not quite. Although I have caught you up now, though. I'm almost there.
No, absolutely.
We're literally head now. It's going to be a nice race, I think.
Yes, we're having like a nice gentleman race to the top, to that 100,000 tier, right? Can we make it to 100,000? Who gets there first? And what's so funny, guys, is before we get into the general discussion, we have this kind of like I said, a gentleman race. But he does something completely different on his channel. You have to go and check it out. He does a lot of macro work. He was on, if you don't know, go back a couple of videos. He's been on with me a lot when it comes to like Fridays. We do like recaps and whatnot, but he also does amazing macro work. He just did a really great thing for, what was it? Loya, I think it is. Laowa lenses. Yeah, Laowa lenses, which was really cool to be able to see all the macro work that he does. So, but anyways, today we're going to be talking about, guys, the Canon R3 as well as the Z9, and we did a poll yesterday, and I talked about what is sexier, right? Which one is sexier? And people thought about it, and for a while, and they're like, what do you mean? What's sexier? The idea that I had, and I mean, shooting for so many years, over 20 years, right? I know it dates me a little bit. Sometimes it's not always about the tech, the spec, but just holding it, like what do you get out of it? That tactile feel. And that's why there's a lot of people, and I think you can agree with this, that really enjoy shooting Fujifilm because they come into it maybe from a film type of base, and they come into Fuji and they're like, they still have all these dials and they have full control over everything on the camera itself, and they don't have to go into menus. Where do you sit with it? Do you like the menus or do you like the dials?
I do like the dials. I don't like too many dials because I have a habit of hitting them when I'm using, when I'm using the camera. But yeah, I don't like. I'm kind of a mixed guy, if you know what I mean. I don't mind using the menu so long as I've only got to go into one menu. I don't want to go deeper down into a menu to find a setting that I've got to find. You know what I mean? At the same time, there is. Such as, if you wanted to quickly change a setting, you can just turn a knob, like on the my 80D. Yeah, the 80D's got the custom settings on the little dial knob. So on there, I'm shooting a B, for instance, and I want to quickly switch and get some B-roll. You just turn the knob and you're automatically into your custom setting. Whereas on the EOS, you got to press a button in, then click on the screen to tell it which one you want to go into. And although it's only a few seconds longer, sometimes you can miss a shot. So having those dials there where you can instantly just hit the dials it's quite nice,
No, absolutely. Really absolutely. So, we wanted to talk a little bit about the EOS R3 as well as the Z9. And there was finally like this announcement yesterday about the R3. And I feel like there's just such a minuscule amount of data that they released. I think it's like maybe maybe a little bit more than what Nikon released. And they both released basically next to nothing, just saying, hey, we're here and we're going to do this. Let me go ahead and run this video. I'm going to turn the audio off because if I don't, then what will happen is they'll flag me for, I don't know, some type of something that we absolutely, love. So here, let me run this. This is like the video that Canon put out there for this announcement. Explosive speed, 30 frames per second. Fantastic. You can see here, this is talking about their sensor and the different tracking, ultra responsive. This is kind of interesting too, where it's actually, monitoring your eye and whatnot. And there's the picture of it. And that's it. That was literally their official release. That's like their official announcement. That's all that you get. Nothing more. Which is really
that's basically like me saying, yeah, I am going to do a critique show at some point.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not going to tell you when,
Exactly.
I'm not going to get digitized that information.
It's just crazy. It's just crazy.
At some point I will get outside.
We were just talking about this before we went live, that today it's like almost a day where they don't give you anything, and then us in the industry, we just speculate on rumor and nothing. I mean, there's like channels out there that are saying that, like this camera will beat that camera hands down, and this camera is better than that camera.
Where are they getting the information from, though?
They literally just, I don't know, pull it out of their butt cheeks. I don't know.
I don't talk about vaporware or rumors on my channel.
So
I hardly ever talk about stuff that's been announced. I like to talk about stuff that's in my hand. You know what I mean?
Right. So you know what? Let's go into the only thing that Canon has really put out there was their press release itself. So let me bring that up real quick. And this way you can kind of look at it and get a feel of where this is going, because some people are looking at this as being a R1 or an R1 replacement, or instead of an R1 coming out. Other people said that no, this is going to be the R3, and then we're going to have an R1 also. And I think maybe we can look at this and hopefully read the tea leaves and maybe pull out some cards or something and figure out what they're trying to do here. So let's just take a look at this real quick. Now, what really stands out for me is right here. It's a 35 millimeter full frame backside illuminated stacked CMOS sensor. That right there, let me highlight that. And of course, highlighting is not working. But anyways, I'm going to just highlight over it. So that right there is very important to me. Oh, there, this time it worked. The reason I think it's important is because that it is a stacked CMOS sensor. And being that it is, that means that it's going to be able to capture quicker, the readout is going to be faster, and we won't get that lag. And I'll get into that in just a second. We'll kind of get through this a little bit and just figure things out as we're going here. Now, what they did say is the current, it says currently in development, the EOS R3 is based on the concept of high speed, high sensitivity, and high reliability. The EOS R3 will be introduced into Canon's lineup of professional enthusiast cameras that include the EOS 1DX Mark III flagship DSLR, which was released February 2020, and the EOS 5 series. And those were obviously, like, for example, the EOS R5 that we talk about all the time. That was released July 2020. So it says the EOS R3 aims to provide professional level quality for both stills and video capture, even for moving subjects. So interesting here. It feels to me, and I don't know about what you think, it feels to me that they are placing this EOS R3 in between their flagship EOS 1DX Mark III and their EOS R5, somewhere in between that. So that to me, I don't know to you, means that this might not be that R1. So that's where I go with it so far. What do you think?
Sounds like an R1 beta. That's what I think it is. I honestly think it's the beta version of the R1.
Yeah. It's like, hey guys, test this crap.
Technology. Just you don't want to put out new technology in your flagship camera that's untested, if you know what I mean. Right. It's like dual pixel autofocus. That came in a crop sensor first. I remember. Was it the D60?
Which one? 70? Yeah. I think
dual pixel autofocus, you know.
Right.
And then it moved up to the other camera.
Yeah,
so
matter of fact, the ADD.
It's going to be something like,
right.
It's going to be something like a beta. I don't know. I just got feelings like they're testing the waters before finalising the specs
Yeah.
for an R1.
It's almost like let's get all the professionals on board to test the crap to see what ends up working, and then that stuff they put into their true
put all this
flagship.
technology into the R3, yeah,
Right.
and then we'll fix that for the R1.
Right.
Yeah, the stuff that don't work, we'll fix it for the R1.
It's kind of what happened, right, with the EOS R. And they just moved that straight into the R5 after, a couple of thoughts and rethoughts and fixes and whatnot, and what worked and what didn't work.
It's like your little touch sensor, okay? The little touch sensor that you get on the R, the thing that everybody hates, yeah?
Right.
On paper, it sounded good. So they put it on there. Then when they got all the negative feedback, they took it back off of the R5,
Exactly.
It could be something like that. Just test the waters out, see what people like, what people dislike, and then go down the road of the things that people like. Put that onto the R1, and then obviously make it better, faster.
Right. No, absolutely. And the thing, like I said, that stands out. Let's go and bring that back up. To me, what stands out here is that stacked sensor. I think that is very big, especially here. They're talking about, if we go down a little bit, they're talking about the 35 millimeter full frame backside illuminated stack CMOS sensor. That is and they explicitly say that makes possible high speed readout, and that is where we get into that whole idea of capturing, using, instead of a mechanical shutter, using electronic shutter without getting that blur, getting that bending of stuff. And a lot of you know it as, if you see a prop of a plane spinning, when you video it, or take pictures of it with a electronic shutter, you get this bending effect that happens. Or if you see a golf, swing, and you see that the golf club is bent, or anything like that, anything that's high speed, because it's capturing the data by scanning across the sensor. And the faster we can make that scan, all right, the less bend, or let's call it jello effect, that you get. Okay, so by having this, I think what we're going to be able to see is, maybe as they go down here, they talk about high-speed continuous shooting of 30 frames per second. That is going to be with their electronic shutter. And most likely at 30 frames per second, they're going to be able to capture images without that bending, or with minimal, I would probably say with none. Just like exactly what the Sony A1 is doing. They have that stacked sensor. They have a very fast readout, so you get almost no jello effect, and you can capture at 30 frames per second without having a problem. I think that's exactly what they're doing here, and rightfully so. Now, going forward from this, where do you go? The only thing better than that would be a global shutter. Once you go into a global shutter, instead of actually scanning to get the data and scanning extremely quickly, now you capture every single pixel all at a single moment of time. So you don't have to worry about bending anything, or jello effect, or any of this blur that you get. So I think this is positive, but I see it as more like, okay, Sony has already done it. Okay, now Canon says they're going to do it. Okay, well, all right. What else do they got in here?
Do you think Canon's just playing catch up with this camera? Do you think?
I think that
maybe they thought they're not ready for global shutter yet.
I think that it's what you were saying earlier. It's beta. I think that it's going to be a stepping stone to the R1. That's the way I look at this, and we'll talk about it more in just a second when we get into what I think and what you think as far as megapixels. And I think that's going to be very, very important here. Now, they continue by talking about dual pixel and their autofocus. They say, alongside of dual pixel CMOS AF technology, by which each pixel on the sensor, each pixel on the image sensor possesses both image capture as well as phase detect AF functionality. Don't talk about who? Panasonic. If Panasonic would just read this damn thing, I had to bring it. I have to bring it up.
You got to put up a graphic now that says rant alert.
Yes.
Ding, ding,
Rant.
ding. Rant alert.
You see,
Rant,
okay.
incoming rant. There we go.
Panasonic, listen, they have a release here. This is a press release. You see what they're saying? We use this technology. Why? Because it just damn works, okay? It does. Yes, of course, you sacrifice something because each pixel is doing both image capture as well as phase detection. But who cares? Just who cares if your autofocus works? Panasonic, for the love of God. Anyways, they continue by saying phase detect AF functionality, thus enabling high speed, high accuracy, and wide range of AF. The EOS R3 uses an algorithm that employs deep learning technology that enables improved head, listen to this, improved head and eye detection for human subjects, as well as a new capability of detecting subject torso. So now they're going from bust up instead of just eyes. That I think is very interesting. And they say, thanks to this enhanced performance, the camera's autofocus system provides high performance subject tracking. Now, this is also important, even during portrait photography and in scenarios with frequent subject movement, such as sports. So, sports, keyword, bing, sports. This is a sports shooter. Yes, it's a 1D-esque type of body. It is a sports type of camera. You have your stack sensor. You have a high-speed readout. You're going to be capturing probably, I'm going to guesstimate, 30 frames per second electronically and probably 20 plus frames per second using the mechanical shutter. So this is going to be a beast for professional work, and that's what they're saying here. Now, what is important here, and I think that you're probably seeing it too, dual pixel AF. We've been talking about on the channel quad pixel AF for a long period of time now, but as we can see here in the press release, this is not like, pie in the sky. This is what's going on. This camera will have dual pixel AF. How much you want to bet the one that comes out, the big flagship, the R1, will have quad pixel or something even better? That's the way I'm looking at this. How do you see it?
I'm seeing it the same thing. You want your flagship to have the best stuff in there, and it's like I was saying before, people read numbers. The higher the number, the better it must be. So quad pixel has got to be better than dual pixel. I still think it's a stepping stone. Almost I don't know if it's the same Canon PR that dealt with the R5. It's almost like they're sitting there and going, well, our flagship isn't going to be out till next year. Sony have released theirs, Nikon have announced theirs. We need to put something out there just to keep people tied over until our R1 comes out. That's the feeling I'm getting from it for some reason. I don't know why. Even though the camera looks really nice, I'm getting the feeling it's a stepping stone beta type camera, ready for the R1 next year, maybe.
Yeah, I know. I'm with you on that. Excuse the vibration, the noise. There's I think people cutting the lawn out there. But anyways, if you guys ask any questions in the chat, we're going to answer them. So we're going to get to them. But yeah, let's just kind of blow through this, and then we're going to get into some questions. Let me just continue, and I want to delve a little deeper into this. It then goes into, in addition, the EOS R3 is Canon's first digital camera to feature an eye control function. Very interesting. When shooting still images and looking through the viewfinder, remember, this is an EVF now, not an OVF. All right? That means that you're getting an augmented reality of what you see, and now they're looking at your eye. Think about this. They're looking at your eye. It says when looking through the, let me see here, where to go, here we go. When, where did I lose it here? Oh, here we go. When looking through the viewfinder, this new feature enables the AF frame to adjust according to detected movement of the user's eye. So it's almost like it's wherever you're looking, it's thinking about that's where we want to, let's say, sharpen things up. That's where the autofocus needs to be. It says making possible more pleasant shooting with quick focus when transitioning between subjects. So the way I'm seeing this is it's almost like a HUD, you know, like a fighter pilot. When a fighter pilot has the goggles on, where the fighter pilot is turning his head and looking, this is where a lot of its controls are, let's say, focusing. So if that is the case, this is going to be the first camera that is not only having you look through this EVF, but the EVF is looking at you at the same time and seeing where your eye is moving. It's probably looking in the dead center of your eye and taking that. That is
beta.
Exactly, beta technology. And I think you're right about that.
And,
I
this
really
type
do.
of technology is it's basically like Marmite. You either love it or you hate it. Do you know what I mean? Now, from my point of view as a macro photographer, I won't be using that at all because I am constantly looking all the way around the frame. Even when I'm taking the picture, I'm constantly looking around the frame because in macro, the second most important thing apart from your subject is your background, because you want a nice clean background. So I'm constantly looking around the frame. Is there a stick coming in? Is there something else coming in? And, obviously, I would assume that if they're going to have this technology on there, then you've got to have like some sort of button, like a back button focus type button, where you can tell it, I don't want you to move the focus while I check out. I mean, if they haven't got that on, what happens if you look down to your shutter speed to see what?
It would be.
Is it going to shift focus? Is it? I don't know.
Your AF would be changing all the time.
It's one of these things you're not going to know until you get it in your hands to try it yourself. Whether you like
I agree. I agree. Let's just finalize this, and then we'll get into more of a discussion here. So this is that eye control that we just don't know what it is, and like you said, it's probably beta. They also say that the EOS R3 answers the high-level needs of professionals by providing dust and water resistance developed with each iteration of the EOS 1 series. Now, I have 1Ds. Trust me when I say those things are big-ass cameras that are sealed well. You can run them through the mud. So they're basically pulling that. And when you look at the body of the camera itself, it looks kind of like that. It has like a really heavy-duty type of, and even the grip.
You need it. You need it. It's like with me. I mean, I've got the EOS R, and it's let's say it's semi-rubber sealed. I don't think they've confirmed it's fully rubber sealed. Anyway, but when I'm out shooting with it, sometimes I get a bit scared or a bit iffy about the weather because I'm like, I can't afford to replace the camera if it does get wet.
Right.
So having a camera that's fully rubber sealed and knowing that, you know, if the trees are wet and I can stick that thing inside of a tree and get the shot I want, knowing it's not going to get completely wrecked, is, you know, that's great. That is
absolutely.
You need to know that it's going to be able to handle what you're going to throw at it.
They continue by saying the body design is designed with an integrated vertical hand grip. Obviously, we can see that. I really wish that Sony did that with their A1. I understand why they went with a smaller camera so that people could either put a grip, buy a grip extra and put it onto the A1 or not, without giving them the option of doing, you know, by giving them the option to do so is kind of nice for people that don't need it or want it. The benefit, there's multiple benefits to having these big grips like these vertical grips. Number one benefit is the size of the camera is larger, so that means that heat dissipation will be much better. Much better.
We need to talk about the size of the camera. Talk about it because
we'll have to get into that.
When mirrorless came out, they were too small. They were too small. I mean, a year before I started YouTube, I took my mate down to our local camera shop, and he's the same guy who helps to fund my YouTube channel. And he fell in love with the Sony. He liked the look of it. He loved the technology in it because, from a non-photographer point of view, seeing your exposure before you take the picture is absolutely brilliant. You know what I mean?
Right.
But the camera was half the size of his hand. And he literally said to the salesman, he said, I can't use it. His thumb covered up 4 buttons at one time, you know? So I like the fact they're going down the route of keeping these cameras at a decent size so that they're more usable, you know, instead of having these really tiny things that fit in your pocket. I don't like them.
Okay, so there's two sides to this coin, right? So either they can make it small and you reduce, and then you end up with a problem with heat dissipation, okay? Or you make them bigger and you don't have as much of a problem with heat dissipation. The other side of it is you have to have an inlet and an exhaust, and you have to have a fan in it. All right, some companies do that, Panasonic. Some other companies like that, and it works out really well because now you don't have to worry about recording 8K and the damn thing melting down into a pile of lava, right? So, you know, there's only so much you can do. Making smaller is good, but the problem is you have to, at the same time, make the power consumption less and less and less to do the exact same thing. But that's not happening. Now what they're looking at most likely is going into multiple processors. They don't say how many of those Digex X are in here. I'm going to venture to say that it might have one in this, and when an R1 comes out, it'll probably have two. That's the way I look at it. I don't know. Obviously, we're speculating here, but that's the way I see it.
Or it has two in, and when the R1 comes out, you'll have a Digit 11 processor in there.
That they can do. Yeah, they can do that too. Usually, but since they have the greater real estate inside, it's very easy. You know, it's very easy to put an extra processor in there and be able to put a heat sink, you know, some type of dissipation in there, some type of passive cooling, let's call it. So that's a possibility. Anyways, so they finalized by saying that, of course, they have that vertical grip for reliability, ease of use, as well as compatibility with the Canon's mobile file transfer. That's really big because they all have that now, and they finalized by saying, with the goal of expanding the possibilities of imaging for users, the EOS R system will continue to expand its lineup of impressive cameras and RF lenses. Now, RF lenses is something we want to talk about also because there is 3 RF lenses introduced. You have a 400 to 600 and I think a 100 macro. I know you're partial to the macro, and we'll let you talk about that. But the idea here is they're expanding their glass by just crazily. I mean, I think they're at 20 lenses right now in a couple of years or something, and they have like down the pipe like another 10 or so or 15. It's like a lot because that's what Canon does. They'll sleep, they're like the sleeping giant. They'll just sleep and they'll just sit around, they'll kick things around. Then all of a sudden they'll realize that now all of a sudden we need to do something because our market is being encroached on, let's say by Sony. And now Fujifilm is even coming up and passing Nikon in some aspects. So they almost had to do it. So yeah, let me have you talk about real quick that new EOS the RF 100 macro. That is a 1.4 magnification lens, and that's something that you talked about in our macro conversation. If you guys didn't watch that, go back in my videos, and you will see an amazing conversation that Stuart and I had about macro photography, and he showed a lot of his just unbelievable images of jumpy spiders and all kinds of stuff. So anyways, jump into that idea of the 100. What do you think about it?
Right. Well, obviously, I'm talking from a spec sheet point of view, so my opinion might change over time.
Right.
I did contact Canon PR, but they neglected to not even bother replying to me.
That's hard to believe.
Yeah.
Hard to believe.
Yeah, I mean, it looks... Let's face it, right? Any of these lenses are fantastic lenses, right? And you can't go wrong with it. It's a Canon. It's got that red ring, which fools you into thinking it's the best on the market. But it's got that. It's got. I'm happy that they didn't rehash the old 100mm and just make it a little bit longer to make it fit the flange on the new RF cameras. That I'm happy with. It's got 1.4 times magnification. Would I prefer 2? Yes, but you have to go with whatever they give you. Full weather sealing, which is fantastic. You also have that new control ring that it adjusts the shape or the style of your bokeh in the background and the foreground.
Right.
That's an interesting thing. Again, I'd have to play with it to really comment on it. So it's going to have the build quality from Canon. It's going to have the image quality from Canon, which is not the best on the market, to be fair.
Right.
I saw some example images from this new camera, and it's still suffering from chromatic aberration, which it's not bad. you can go with it, but the problem is is the price. I'm not happy with the price. I mean, was it 1,400?
Yeah, I think
You
it's
can
about
buy three lower
$100
lenses
more
for that. You can buy 3 lower lenses for that, and the lower is 2 times macro with no chromatic aberration,
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if you're using it for video portraits, go with that one because it's going to be fantastic. I have used my Canon lens for portraits. I use it for video as well with the autofocus. It's fantastic. I'd love to see if the autofocus has changed on that particular lens, because the EF coupled with the R5 was great at tracking jumping spiders going across your frame.
Right.
As the jumping spider comes across the frame, I'll just click on the back of the camera to lock on the focus, and it would actually follow it going across the frame. So that would be interesting. But if you're talking purely macro photography and nothing else, I'd stick with the lower lens, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, no, I agree. I threw up the Canon EOS R mirrorless over there on B&H so you can see what it looks like if someone is watching and they don't know what it looks like. And it's just a few, you can look down the spec sheet. It's basically everything that we talked about, full frame stacked BSI CMOS sensor, subject tracking and deep learning. That's new. Integrated vertical grip, eye control AF, dual pixel CMOS AF, continuous shooting up to 30 frames per second.
Let's talk realistic for a moment, right? Out of all this new technology that they're putting into this camera, how much of that is actually going to make you a better photographer?
Yeah, probably just about zip.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. They need, okay, so they have to, innovation just has to be there. And I am so glad that, so I did a poll yesterday. And matter of fact, let me bring this up real quick. Hold on. Let me switch this back over to here. And so I did this poll yesterday and I was shocked by this. So let me refresh the page because I want to see what it's at right now. Here we go. All right. So let's scroll down here. So 206 votes so far. Here we go. 206 votes. Look at this, guys. 50-50. It creeped up. Nikon Z9 compared to the Canon EOS R6. I basically said, which camera do you think is sexier? What would you rather hold in your hand? And this is the way it's, so you're looking at 103 people saying Canon, 103 people saying Nikon. Now,
you couldn't have scripted that, could you?
That you couldn't. I just refreshed the page right now. That is so amazing. And what I find amazing about this is that means that even though there's been so many naysayers saying that Nikon's going out of business, I have talked about their $700 million profit loss. I've talked about their 2,000 workers that have been just shit canned. Okay, pardon my French. The factories moving to Thailand, only one factory still left in Japan, and they're doing more of their high-end R&D and futuristic type of thought process, let's say, going on in there. More their development, R&D type of work. So there's been a lot of negative, but by seeing this, that means that there's an equal number of professionals, because remember, this camera is for professionals. There's an equal number of professionals right now that are as eager to pick up or to go with Nikon as with Canon. That is, to me, fantastic, because I really didn't think it was going to be that way, to be completely honest with you. Now,
can you refresh that page for me?
Yeah, sure.
I think Nikon might have taken over.
Yeah, let me go ahead and do it. Let me see it. I'm going to do it. Let me see if it does. Nope. 206. We're still at 206. Did someone vote? Let me see.
Yeah, someone's voted. They're going on
someone's voted
now for Nikon.
See, they were just joking because they already voted. It knows that they voted. They tried voting twice is what happened. But anyways, I just think that it's fantastic. It goes back to like we were just saying with like all of these toys, and I said about innovation. Innovation is so important. And if you don't have multiple companies that are competing, then innovation gets stifled and we end up with iteration and we get the same old crap year after year after year. By having all of these companies competing, thank God Sony has come out with their A1, and it's a fantastic camera. Yeah. this is what's making these companies just bring like their A game. All right. And that's what's happening here. So I like it. I like it a lot.
That's what happened to Intel, wasn't it? I mean, they were top dog for so many years. They got lazy with their processors, and now they've been caught with their pants down by AMD.
AMD is crushing it. Absolutely. Absolutely. They're doing a fantastic job. So, yeah, I mean, you know.
Apart from getting the stock to the shops, of course.
That's it. And so this goes back to, you know, I went over to the this page over there on B&H because, let me see, who was it? Steve H asks, what was the ETA? And the ETA is just like they say here, new item. Yeah, coming soon. Yeah, when we're done actually building it. So, there is no, you know, Steve, there's no ETA as of right now. Just like the Z9, there's really no ETA. The information, let me bring this up here. So this right here is the Z9, what they have over on their page. They literally have provided even less information. I mean, they say, you know, there's really, really nothing as far as what they're doing different with the Z9. And even if we jump over to the press release, if you read through the press release, there's nothing. That's all they're saying is, listen, we're doing 8K. So that means we know.
Basically, as far as you know, it's just a letter on a whiteboard in the Nikon offices, isn't it?
Yeah. That's it. I mean, what that means to me is they're working on it, just like Canon is working on it. They are, by them saying that it's going to support 8K. So we know that the size of the sensor has to be larger, you know, 40 plus megapixels to be able to support 8K, right? So that's all that we know here. Now let's talk about megapixels. And this is something that I think is important to discuss. Megapixels. Now, the original question was, will this be the R1? And the R1 will never come out. And I said, no, I don't think so. Now, the reason I think so is I believe, and I own many 1Ds. 1Ds have notorious, from the day one, have always been low megapixel camera. My first 1D that I have that was $7,000 didn't even have a CMOS sensor. It had a CCD in it. It captured 4.3 megapixels. And even the latest and greatest are sitting at 20 megapixels or less, all right? They're always very, very low megapixels because they're about the raw speed to capture. So I look at this as being not the equivalent to an EOS R1. I think this is the EOS R5S that I predicted. And instead of having a EOS R5S, which would be their large megapixel, let's say 80 megapixel, 100 megapixel, they'll use this instead. It's a possibility. The reason I think that is I believe that the R1 that will eventually come out will be 20 some megapixels, maybe 24, 28, 30. It will not do 8K because they don't need it to. All right. That's my personal opinion. I don't know.
How many sports shooters do you know have complained that they need more megapixels?
Right. That's exact. Or 8K.
Because they've always got the big ass lens on there, so they don't need to crop in afterwards, you know?
Right. Absolutely.
So they just need the speed. Get those pixels shifted quickly.
So I think that this is going to be another 8K beast. They're not going to melt it down like they did with the EOS R5, right?
I'm going to answer that question in a minute. I'm going to start moaning.
Yeah, because your camera's going to start heating up. But yeah, so I think that it just feels like that. I don't know. What do you think?
I honestly don't. It's 50-50. I don't know. I honestly do not know. I'm distracted by this guy's question because I want to moan about it.
Okay. Well, you know what? Okay, so let's do this. Let's go straight in. I'm going to scroll up to where the first questions were coming in, and then we'll just kind of go down a little bit. We had Steve H wanting to know the ETA below that. Let's see what we got here. It's about the R3. What do you think? That we're talking about that. That faux leather, that honeycomb texture. Octavian talks about that, the texture of it. I'm going to go and highlight this. You'll see that pop up in just a second. It's very interesting.
It looks interesting.
Let me go and pop that in there real quick and see if I can zoom in. Let me bring us back up.
I was just trying to do that. I can't seem to zoom in though, unfortunately.
Really? Does it let you? Let me see. Here we go.
Not on the
All right.
press release. It's not. But
No. Yeah. So I went to B&H.
Like.
Yeah. So this is B&H, and now take a look at that. Okay. So you can see what that looks like. Yeah, it's kind of like a honeycomb pattern, and you can tell that instead of them only putting it on the grip part, they literally put it throughout the entire front-facing, camera. Yeah. It's like all the way up to the top. Now remember, this camera
looks like it's been dipped in a vat of honeycomb.
Yeah, right. And right down here at the very bottom, I can't move. Can I move it? Oh, here we go. So you see this? So obviously you can see the vertical grip where it's obviously built in. You have your shutter release, but then you also have your wheel over here at the bottom where you can control it. So you have this throughout the entire unit. So when you hold it, no matter if you hold it vertically or if you hold it horizontally, if you hold it for portrait work or for landscape work, you're going to have a good grip on the camera. And that makes sense. I do like that. And, we were talking about, is this going to be, what do you think about this in comparison to the Nikon as far as sexiness? Well, I mean, obviously Canon does have the curves here. When we look at the Nikon, it's more of a square type, I want to say a 2001-esque body, but that might mean that it's a stronger body or more, it looks like a beefy body. I think, it's a difference between, when I see this body, I look at it as a Jeep, and when I see the Canon body, I look at it as like a Tesla or something that has like all these curves and it's more, that type of curvy body in comparison to this Z9. Does it matter? Not so much. Now, I do like that this Z9 has this wheel at the top that Canon does not. And if you look in the back here, I don't know if this is another wheel. No, I think that's actually for your eye. I think that is to control your focus for your eye, for your EVF. But anyway, so you have some function, you have a dial. And a lot of people do like the dials. I mean, I do. I think they're fantastic. So anyways, let's move on to the next question. That was the honeycomb question. What do you see here? Let's see. Delta Dave 44 says, what recording media do you think that the R3 will use? What do you think? I'm gonna say CF Express.
I honestly don't care what it is as long as it's two of the same cards. I hate it when they put one card on one SD card and one CF. Oh God, stop doing that.
I have to agree with you there. No, that's just the dumbest.
Card. Doesn't matter which one it is.
Yeah, two different cards. I mean, don't do it. It's just stupid.
I favor nice, fast storage. My wallet doesn't really like fast storage because it costs.
CF Express is very expensive. I mean, we know that. No, that's just the way it is. It's the nature of the beast. You're going to pay for CF Express, but you're going to have that high speed. I think that they can get away with probably using just high-speed standard, SD cards.
It's all going to come down to the megapixels, though. I mean, if it's a lower megapixel camera, you're not going to need the really fast cards. If it's higher megapixel, you're going to need the fast cards.
Yeah.
So again, it all comes down to that sensor again, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. It's going to boil back down to what sensor are they going to use, and I do think this is going to be a much higher megapixel camera than we see with an R1. That's just my opinion, but we'll see. Let me see. Delta Dave also says 30 FPS will only be available in their top tier glass. So I don't know. I think that the 30 frames per second, Dave, will be 30 frames per second using their electronic shutter, and they're probably going to get to like 20.
In Canon, it'll be 30 frames a second in manual focus.
Yeah, if they really want to throw the cripple sword at it, right? So they could do that, but I don't think so. Whenever you see these flagship type of cameras, whenever you see the, these type of bodies, they're more professional grade. They don't take as much out of it, but that also would lead to the price. So I'm going to say, now there was a lot of questions. No one knows what the price is. If this is going to be an R1 replacement, the price will definitely be $6K, $6,900, $6,499. Okay, period.
I was thinking
if that is going to be, if this is not, this camera will be around $4,500 to $5,000. Okay, that's my opinion. Write it down. I don't know. That's what I think will happen, because this will be like you were talking beta. This will be the stepping stone that will get you into that R1 if you wanted to go there. The A1 is already there. We know what the price is on the A1. So I don't know if this is going to be that. It could be. So they could increase the price a little, but I think it's going to be around 45 to 5,400, somewhere right on there. And I do think that an R1 would be around 6,500 to $7,000. That's my opinion. Yeah. So I don't know. Let's go on here. Let's see. Price. We got into the price just now for. Let me just put that in there. Let me see what else we have. Alfred R1 medium format. Yeah. So, Alfred, let me see. He puts R1 equals medium format. Okay. So now, I am a medium format guy. It is definitely will never be a medium format. The sensor just is not there. It is still going to be a full frame sensor. That means it'll be 36 millimeters on the long, and it'll be 24 millimeters on the short side. Medium format, even a cropped medium format, all right? A GFX 100S, even a GFX, let's say 50R, whatever. The size of it is 33 millimeters on the short and like 43 millimeters on the long. You see the disparity. It's a big difference. There's a lot more data with medium format. So I don't care where people go with this as far as megapixels. It'll never be medium format, period. Yes, you can get a lot of maybe 80 megapixels, 100 megapixels. It's going to look damn good, but it's just not going to be medium format. That's my personal opinion. Do you see another one you want to read and jump into here? Let me see.
I want to jump into Jonas's question about the 400 and 600 millimeter lens.
Oh, okay. Then we'll come.
Why there's no control ring on it?
Okay, so we'll do
that. I know why.
Yeah. And who was that? Which one was that? That was
Jonas.
Oh, Jonas. Yeah. Let me find him in here, and I'll highlight him. So yeah, that's going to be. So I want to ask you something.
Yeah.
The macro, like we were talking about, the 100, I think is going to be a true RF lens. Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be a fantastic lens.
Fantastic lens.
Because it's been redesigned for the RF mount.
Exactly.
The other two haven't.
Damn straight. And that's where I was going with this.
The reason there's no control ring on the 400 and 600 is because it's the EF version of the lens with an adapter stuck to it, basically.
Pretty, yeah.
That's literally all it is.
And if you don't believe that, just look at the weight.
Yeah.
I mean, so I was listening to a video. Yeah, I was listening to a video earlier, and they were saying how, God, I don't know where. Anyways, I was listening to a video, and they were saying how the 400, the 600 was dramatically lighter than the EF version of the 400, 600. I'm like, did you not read the specs?
Is that the same PR team that did the R5?
It had to be them, but actually no. It was actually one of the YouTube channels, and I don't know which one it was, and even if I did, I wouldn't say. But it was the most ridiculous thing, because if you look at the specs, I mean, they're like almost identical. It's just a minuscule difference between the RF. So, like you said, that is exactly it. My recommendation is, unless it's a true RF lens, don't buy it. Buy the EF equivalent and stick on $100 adapter and call it a damn day. Period. What do you say?
When they announced the 100mm macro, the fact that they've actually changed it, they've altered, they've pushed the technology, what they can do with it. I was actually afraid that it'd be a rehash of the old one, just put a longer length to it to make it work with the RF mount body. So that was happy, but then the other two they got lazy with. Basically all they've done is just stuck on an adapter on the end of it and just said that's it, that's all you need there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I know I saw some.
Yeah, I would definitely go with the EF version, stick a control mount adapter on it, which is what I've got on my SR here, and that gives you the control ring adapter for that lens anyway. So I'd definitely go with the EF version.
Absolutely. And if you use that...
EF versions are not going to come down in price, I can tell you that now.
And this is the big and the big but, is if you use the RF-EF adapter and you get the more expensive one, the one that allows you to slide in filters, now you get the best of both worlds. Now you don't have to buy ND filters that are this big for the end of your lens. You could just slip them into the back end. It doesn't matter what lens you strap onto it, you have your NDs all the time. You buy one batch. That is massive. That is really, really big. So they have to really give a lot to be able for me to say, I don't want to use EF glass anymore. I want to move over to RF, unless there's something amazing. And this 400 and 600 doesn't do it. I don't think they're going to sell a lot of them. I mean, one of them was like $12,000 or something. I'm like, what? That's kind of crazy. It's just not happening. Not happening. So there's another question that came through here. No flippy, no go. I love that. I just highlighted that one. That's true. You're not going to find a flippy screen. You get any of these pro cameras, they will not have flippy nothing. Yeah. These things are made to run through mud. They're literally made to go to war, literally go to war, and shoot and shoot and shoot some more. Chances are these shutter times, they're not like these cameras that are 100, 150,000 shutter releases, and then that's it, and then they break down. These are all like 200, 300 or more shutter releases before you have to send them in. This is good stuff. You're spending $6K. They definitely on the field of battle, you don't want a flippy screen. Okay, we don't need that. Let me see what else we got here. Let me see. Let me go and highlight this. One can only hope that they improve it for the eye control AF they had in the EOS 3. Yeah, that's a possibility.
We didn't mention this, did we? We didn't mention the fact that they've already tried this technology once already.
They have done this in the past. I'm so glad that I'm so glad that was brought up. The name, what is it? Zilonier? I don't know. I'm sorry. I have a hard time with the name sometimes. But anyways, thank you for bringing that up. Canon has tried the whole eye thing in the past. It failed horrendously. It was kind of half-baked, and they didn't go forward with it. Instead of trying to make it better, they just left it half-baked, and then they just petered it out, and that was it. They're bringing it back, but with new technology and with faster processor. For all of this tech, you need faster processor, meaning that you create more heat. And that's why a lot of times they'll stick in the kitchen sink when it comes to these bodies, these unibodies, let's call it, with these that have built-in grips. They have more size, like I said, for heat dissipation. So they can have faster processors. If they wanted, they could do 2 processors. They could do 2 Digix X's in them if they want to. And they might do that on like an R1. But for that, I do think that having the additional speed is what you need to be able to make this work, and that it has it, they can probably do something great with it. But like you said, that's very important. You need to be able to turn this on and off. You can't just have this wherever your eye goes, it's like focusing like a damn mess, okay? You can't have that. Maybe it's just simple as your shutter release, your shutter button. Just like when you lock in your focus and you push your shutter release halfway down, now it locks the focus there, and it doesn't matter what you're...
be able to program into a button anyway, because
that's right.
All these modern cameras, you can program all the buttons anyway.
Right.
So
absolutely.
Whatever.
Let me see here. What is, let's see, Stephen says, will progressive contact lenses affect your true focus? Interesting question. It's, I would have to say it's a possibility. Contact lenses, I think what you could do is you probably dial it in. All right, on where you want it to be. If you're going to be looking through the lower, however you have things set up. The same thing with like an eyeglass wearer, right? When you put your eye up to an EVF or an OVF, the diopter will allow you to dial it in to exactly the way you want it. And I'm going to guess they're probably going to do something like that. Number one. Number two, they're probably going to have a sensitivity ratio, let's say, that you can set to how sensitive the movement of AF is in accordance to your eye. So you can make it very lethargic. So you really have to look at something for more than a split second for it to just zip over there. I mean, if Canon, if you're listening, all right, I'm patenting that right now. Okay, you need to send me royalty. No, I think that would be very important, right? Because if you think about it, if you have something that's dealing, let's say, going very slowly, if you look over there for a second, it doesn't snap over there. So that's a possibility. We'll see how that goes. Other questions? What do you got there? Let's see. So guys, let's see. What do you think about the Meg? All right, so Jacob, I believe, he writes, what do we think about the megapixels? And we kind of covered that a little bit. Do you think that'll surpass the R5 and QI point of view also with your, the image quality? So I think it's just two different cameras. I think the R5 is the 5D, okay, 5D Mark IV. So being that, I think that that is for a prosumer leading towards a pro market. More on the prosumer, okay? Does it do professional work? Absolutely, but it's more prosumer. It allows you to buy the camera like Sony does and not have a damn grip on it. So if you want to use it and stick it on, like a drone, on a crane, on a gimbal or something, and you don't want the extra weight because you don't need it, you don't have to have it, and you still got a good amount of megapixels. So this is more of a professional camera that you're just going to have to deal with the size. And this is not going to be light, all right? It is shorter and more stubby, obviously, because you don't have an OVF in there. You have an EVF, so you don't need the extra bulk of the OVF, but that's it. So it's a little more stubby, but the size, I think, and the girth and the weight is still going to be substantial. Back to what you were saying, Stuart, about the whole idea of size. Everyone thinking that just because you're using a mirrorless camera, all of a sudden it's small. Well, that went away many years ago. Then they started, strapping on glass that weighs almost the same as a standard EF type mount glass or whatever. So size really doesn't mean anything. And I think that the camera manufacturers have got to a size point that if they go any smaller, heat dissipation will be such a problem that they will either A, have to have these things running on next to no juice at all, and it's not going to happen anytime soon to dissipate heat, or they just have to go larger. And I don't see them slowing, they're not going to be able to slow down the processors. The processors are going to have to go faster. Why? Because of all of this, AI, artificial intelligence that they're packing into these things now, right? So,
yeah, exactly.
It's just the nature of the beast.
Talking about AI, when do you think we're going to see computational photography in these camera bodies? Do you think it'll ever happen? Because, there's been talk about it the last few years about that technology, and will it come to, pro cameras?
I think that
pros need computational photography.
I think that circles back around to heat. Okay, to have true computational type of photography, AI-based photography, let's call it. I think that they need to have the processing power needs to be stronger. The processors that are in these things are complete crap. If you don't know it, they are literally, they are garbage. You get a Raspberry.
I've said it before. Why can't they go and hire Apple to do a processor for their cameras?
You could probably. I bet
Could you imagine a pro camera with an Apple processor in it?
Yeah, it would be unbelievable. I have, I have what I call the time machine over there. It's a retro arcade that my son and I built. It's got like 15,000 games on it. I've been threatening to do some videos, and I'm going to do it, guys. I'm going to do it. But that thing is running on a Raspberry Pi. And that Raspberry Pi is literally stronger, a better processor than what's in this Canon. And that's just the way it is. Computational photography, they just need dual quad core. They need multiple processors to be able to do it and do it efficiently. And when they do that, once again, full circle, you need heat dissipation. And passive heat dissipation, passively, it just doesn't always work. There's only so much room to be able to do it. So you have to have now instead of a passive, an active heat dissipation like Panasonic, where you have a fan in there and you have an inlet and an exhaust. That's the only way to do it. And I don't think they're going to do that. They won't. They just will not do it because they need these things to be weather sealed to the hilt. right? Like I said, these things need to go through war. So they're not going to do it. So, I mean, bigger AI. I just think that, yes, it's a thing, but they really need to figure out heat before AI is going to be a factor, in my personal opinion. What else we got here? Let's see. Alfred says, I hope, let me put this one in there too. I hope the R1 goes for GFX 100S, same price, but better. So yeah, it's not going to happen. I mean, it's simply not going to happen. And the reason it's not going to happen, Alfred, is because since day one that the 1D came out, like I said earlier, it has always been a low megapixel camera. The first 1D was a CCD. It wasn't even CMOS, and it ran at 4.2 or 4.3 megapixels at like $7,000. And I have one over there. So they're always low megapixels.
What was the frame rate on that thing?
4 megapixels, 4.3 megapixels.
That's the frame rate. The frame rate.
We would, I believe, I would capture, I want to say 14 or 16 frames per second. And this is old. This is like beginning 2000s, you know? Actually, let me look that up. I think that's good. Let me see. Release first 1D, Canon 1D. I think that would be interesting. I don't even remember when.
Way before my time, I can say that.
Yeah, so 2001. There you go. 2001.
Yeah. Oh, that's way before my time.
So, I mean, God, I mean, but remember, frame rate, you're looking in the teens for frame rate. Now, this is back then in 2001. And that's what they were used for, though. They were for sports action, wildlife. It had a 1.3 crop. I mean, it was a beast. The battery was literally almost the size of my iPhone. I mean, just slightly shorter, and this thing, I mean, massive. So that's what they're going to, anyways. So that's what they're going to do here, Alfred. They're going to make, in my personal opinion, they're going to make a lower megapixel R1, and it's going to just rock, just speed, and that's it. You know, I can see it doing, 35, 40 frames per second, stuff like that. Something that will be unheard of for today. That would be most, and the reason they can do it is that they're dealing with small frame, right? Small, a number of pixels, unlike like an A1 that's sitting at, what is it, like 50, I think? 50 megapixels, something. 50. Yeah, 50. So they're not going to have that. I don't believe so. They might go up to 20 something or whatever, just that the cusp of picking up 4K, maybe. They're definitely not going to go above that. That's my opinion. This will have more megapixels, I think, but I want to hear from you guys. What do you guys think? So what else we got here?
I have a friend of mine talking about frame rates. Where he actually uses the video rather than the photography side of things. He just videos whatever he's looking at and then grabs the frame. Just frame grabs, whichever frame he wants.
But yeah, I mean, you could do that.
It's. I mean, I chuckled when he told me the way he does it, because he doesn't edit his video, his images. It's literally just bang straight out the camera. You know what I mean? And that makes you wonder. I mean, 8K at 30 frames a second. I mean, technically, that's 30 frames a second pictures you could bang in out of there. You know what I mean? You're shooting the 8K video instead for 5 minutes, of course.
So Panasonic tried, I said I went to Panasonic, but Panasonic tried this, okay, with their, thing where you would take a shot and then you would decide which shot you wanted to keep, and it would just take a bunch of shots and whatnot, and it would pull it like out of video. So you would anyways, the short end of it is it's no longer raw. It's a JPEG, and yes, it would be 8K, but it would be an 8K JPEG that you can do nothing to. So whatever it is what it is. You're going to have those megapixels and nothing else, nothing more, nothing less. So if you can get it dead on in camera, then yeah, it's not too bad as long as the image isn't moving. Also, now that we're seeing the stack sensor, it can shoot 30 frames per second. And I believe once we see an R1, they'll probably have dual processors in it or something that can shoot even higher than 30 frames per second. Absolutely. You can run video, of course, and pull frames out of it. You can pull, but there's no reason to pull video if you're shooting at 30 frames per second anyways, if you have a fast enough readout where you're not getting any bending or anything anyways. To me, just shoot the camera at 30 frames per second. Period. And worst case, go down to 20 frames per second and capture it. Now you have raw images that you can actually do some post-processing with. Whereas with the JPEGs, you're pretty much stuck in the mud. There's nothing to do. What it is what it is, What else you got there?
Well, absolutely nothing. I ain't doing nothing at all. I'm not doing nothing at all. You do realise that's 2 rants you've had there, babe.
Did I have 2 rants? All right, so
yeah,
I'm going to make...
The first one was about the autofocus in video, remember?
All right. So I'm going to have to make a formal...
You're on a roll today.
I'm going to have to make a formal apology then. If you guys are watching, I'm really sorry about that.
Just make a formal complaint to Panasonic, tell them to fix their shit.
Okay, you know what? I'm going to write a letter.
You won't have to complain then, would you? You won't have to complain. I remember talking with let's say one of the senior guys over there during when I used to cover the shows, and they just honestly they don't listen. I don't know how else to say it. It's just I'm being kind at this point. I'm not going to rant. They really don't listen. Unless it affects the pocketbook, they don't listen. End of story. That's it. I'm not going to go any further with it. Anyways, what are the there's a lot of questions coming in here. What else do we have here? CF Express, too expensive? Absolutely. Let's see. Nick Can says, interesting to see Canon mirrorless R3. Will it be crippled? Great question. Maybe they cripple the R3 and they don't cripple the R1. That's a possibility. God knows. We know how Canon works. Medium format. Am I with that mouth?
I do every once in a while.
Canon not crippling the camera?
Yes. It will not. Yeah.
Procedure. It's standard procedure to cripple a camera.
Yeah. I can't see them doing anything different. It just makes sense. Why not? You always have to
start wrapping this up because my kids are getting hungry.
Okay, what do we got here? Yeah, we're in for an hour, so we're gonna have probably like maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Any other questions? We'll scroll down to the bottom. We'll start answering some of those. But yeah, the crippling is just something that they do, and they do it well.
There's a lot of people commenting that they want a DSLR with R5 technology in. But I got to ask the question, and do please answer in the comments. Why do you want a DSLR with R5 technology in it?
It's a good. So I still love my DSLRs.
I know why I would want one. I just want to know people's comments. See if it's a overwhelming same answer, or have people got different reasons as to why they still want the DSLR.
Yeah, it depends on what you're doing with it. For my use case, a DSLR works just as well as a mirrorless. It doesn't even matter. I haven't even converted. You're using the R5. I haven't even used. I still have. I got like 12, 13 DSLRs over there, from 1Ds to 5Ds. I literally have 10D, 20D, 30D, 40D, 5D, 7D, 70 Mark IIs. I got all of the 5Ds. I got like a whole crap load over there of cameras. So, but anyways.
Free. Literally, I use the camera until there's one of 2 reasons to upgrade. Either the new camera does something that my current ones can't do, right, or I just literally outgrow the system.
Right.
And with these cameras, it was literally the focus peaking that did it for the macro photography. It's so much nice to have the focus peaking. Because you got this bug is going in and out and all over the place, and you've got the wind blowing on the branches going all over the place. You're just like, Jesus, okay. But with the focus peaking, you just basically wait until your focus area that you want in focus turns into the color of your focus peaking, bang, and you're done.
And you got it. Focus peaking.
Like I said, originally the R that I bought was originally for the video side of stuff, but when I used it for the photography, I was like, I've got to have one for the photography as well.
Yeah, when I shoot on set, the EVAs and all the rest of the cameras that we use, we always pull focus anyways, and we're using peaking or the box. I call it the box technology that Panasonic has put out there that I really love. I think it's even better than peaking. But that's just me, because we use Panasonic EVA 1s on set when we're recording TV episodic stuff. But anyways, let's go here. Ron, let's see. Roman Paul says, do you think the Nikon's AF will be strongly improved in the Z9? I think Nikon is doing. It has to. Yeah, it absolutely.
There's no question about it. It's got.
I think it will.
Improved.
I do think it will.
That's the one thing that people are moaning about when it comes to Nikons is the autofocus. So it's got to be. There's no question. They shouldn't even be discussing it. We shouldn't even be discussing it.
Yeah.
It has to be. Full stop. You know.
Yeah, we got RIP DSLRs. I will miss DSLR technology. So many wonderful memories with DSLRs. Yes.
I will miss not cleaning them as often because when you go to mirrorless, boy, the amount of times you have to clean those things.
Yeah, you're always cleaning them. Yeah. You're always cleaning the mirrorless. It doesn't matter what you do, you're cleaning the mirrorless for sure. Just because
it's even worse for macro photographers as well because, like if you're a portrait photographer, you might have a favorite lens, 85mm.
Right.
Or wildlife, you've got a 600mm, but for macro, you're constantly changing lenses because you want to change your your magnification, and then combine that with the fact that you're inside a bush while you're doing it as well.
Yeah,
it gets dirty. It really does get dirty.
And for where I am, I'm in South Florida. There's beaches on all three sides of us because we're like a peninsula, right? So there's beaches everywhere. So we're shooting a lot of scenes, a lot of things on the beach. So you can imagine changing a lens with the tiny, tiny, tiny salt that's in the air. That salt gets on all the lenses, everything. And when you pop open the camera, when it's a mess. And if you go in there and go and try swabbing it and not doing it properly, you will destroy the cover of your sensor. People think that you're actually cleaning a sensor. You're not. You're actually cleaning a like a glass. Let's call it glass, whatever, a piece that's over it. But yeah, you will scratch it. So salt air is a real big problem. I ended up coming out with the whole Aurora camera care stuff that we talked about the last time for full frame, APS-C as well as micro four thirds. I came up with that literally when mirrorless came out because people were saying, I don't know how to do it properly. I want to be able to do it without having to guess how many drops and stuff.
I've had a lot of people come to me going about, can you help me clean my camera? And I'm like, no, not unless I physically got it in my hand.
No,
so being able just to take swab out and just do it.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'll give my opinion when I get my review sample.
Actually, yes, I am sending you over some. So hopefully, from me to the UK, we'll see how long it takes and see if they.
Yeah, we'll see how long it takes.
Yeah, and how much money they charge you for receiving it.
and
don't get me into a rant on VAT.
Well.
If you get me onto a rant with VAT, this is going to go very long. So. The thing that boils my piss right is when you take it to the shop, they do exactly the same thing as what you would do to it if you did it yourself anyway. Not like they're doing anything special. No.
Do you know what I mean? But then I wonder, if you do take your camera to the shop to be professionally cleaned, how much do they charge and how much of that is VAT?
Yeah, it's true. No, it's true. Yeah. I mean, literally, if I send my camera out, it's about $100. Okay. I sell my kits for $24.99, and they have 5 cleanings in them. So what does that come to? $5 a cleaning? And it's already for you. So
what's the VAT on $5?
Yeah, I don't even know. What is it? 20 some?
If you want to have some fun in the comments, just ask Joe about his VAT experience in the UK.
I will not. I won't even answer it. I won't. I'm so pissed right now when like Amazon. I can't. No, I'm no. You're trying to do it. You're doing. You don't. I will not. I'm not even going to get into this whole UK VAT thing. And no, I'm not doing it. Anyway, so let's see. Steven says thanks to the show. You're welcome. Really appreciate you being here, Steven. Let's see. Robert says Pantex is about 10 years behind. Well, Pantex. I actually like Pantex, but they are a bit behind. Let me see. Looking through a viewfinder before you judge. Yep. I agree. Let's see. Went with Canon or Nikon to make a modern DSLR with IBIS. That's just not going to happen. DSLRs are just slowly going the way of the dodo bird or the dinosaur. That's just the way it is.
These EVFs are just going to keep getting faster and faster and faster to the point where there's no competition.
Once again, stack sensor is getting really close to global shutter. Yeah. Once we get to a global shutter, then there's absolutely zero use for a DSLR, besides looking through an OVF in comparison to an EVF. And now that EVFs are getting so good, 9,000, I think it was like, what is it, 9? what was it, 9
9 million.
I think it was 9 point,
Yeah,
was it
that's
9.1, 9.3 million megapixels? I think Sony has some crazy ass numbers like
So
that.
I think
And
it's 9 million megapixels and 240 hertz refresh rate.
I mean, so that you're not going to get any blackout there. It's going to be undiscernible from looking out of an OVF, pretty much, you know. But you're going to have the added ability of a HUD.
Could you imagine paying tax, a VAT, I should say, on a Panasonic camera where the autofocus don't work? Imagine that one.
You know what? I won't do it. I'm not doing it. Don't bait me. I'm not doing it. Let me see. Keep going through these questions so we can bang through them real quick. I'm going to let people go. I know there was like 70, 80 of you around, and I think there's like 60, 70 now. I don't know. But we're going to go through this, and we've been going for an hour. This way we can kind of close up shop a little bit and get final thoughts. Olympus team, up to Samsung for phone, camera technology. Yep, that's Nikon lover. Maybe the next phase of photography is upon us. We never know. People want pro photo results with a phone-sized camera. Yeah, they really do, but it's never going to get there. You know, sensor size. That's why I always say that Micro Four Thirds are going to be going away, because we have phones that are in people's minds doing a good enough job, as good as a Micro Four Thirds. If it is or it isn't, it doesn't matter. The perceived value is the only thing that matters. People will not buy a $1,500 Micro Four Thirds camera. They'll buy a $1,500 APS-C or now full frame, because they look at bigger is better. Period. End of story. I mean, we could debate it, but that's just simply the way it is. And the camera phone, the smartphone, is taking over everything else. All of the little, quick shots. It is what it is.
We could open up discussion if you're talking about purely a macro photographer. Yeah.
Yeah.
An R5 camera with a Micro Four Thirds sensor. Ooh. Damn, man. Now, that would be a macro photographer's dream camera. You know, because you're getting double the magnification.
Right.
And yeah.
Yeah, you don't have
to
get
an R5 with Micro Four Thirds sensor in it.
And just like as you always say, you just don't have to get in as close. You can set things up easy, more sensibly. Let's say easier. Let's see what else we got here. Nick Can says, interesting to see Canon mirrorless R3 will be crippled or maybe hobbled. I have to agree. And I do, we talk about this, and like I was talking about before, the R3 might get crippled and the R1 not. But we will see. It has to do with price.
Jumping in there, right? Canon released the R5 and the R6, and people see the R6 as the baby to the R5. So maybe it's the same thing here. The R3 is going to be the baby to the R1. It's a similar type of thing, isn't it? You know what I mean?
I mean, it could be, but the R5 was a 5D, whereas the R6 was a 6D. This R1 would be a 1D, but an R3 would be what the hell? And that's why I speculated that maybe the R3,
no idea.
Maybe the R3 is actually the EOS 5D, or excuse me, the R5S, which would be the equivalent to a 5DS or a 5DSR, which would be that high megapixels, like 70, 80, 100 megapixels, something like that. Or just a greater number of megapixels, and the R1 will be a low megapixel, just beast of a sports camera. So I don't know. Well, we'll see. Let's see, what else do we have here? Fuji, okay, okay, why? Right, 400 and 600 millimeter EF versions with an adapter, absolutely. Just go with that. It's a no-brainer. If you need a 400 or 600 millimeter, just go with that. Go with an EF and throw on a mount, an RF to EF mount, EF to RF mount. I would suggest getting the more expensive mount so that you can also add in polarization as well as ND filters, and you don't have to buy a ton of them. So any piece of glass that you strap onto that adapter, you'll be able to get the benefits of that. And so one purchase instead of many purchases. Let's see. Octavian, do you need to... Octavian says, do you need to stare at something or just kind of like just look at it for a split second to get that focus point? I don't know. And I think that it's back to the idea of what I was saying, that maybe they'll have something that you have to stare at it for more than, let's call it 500ths of a second in comparison to something, 10 times faster. So I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do with it, but it is interesting. It's definitely interesting. All right. Adaptive glass. Joe Max says that expect to lose the 12 FPS shooting mode when you adapt glass. So it's possible. I don't know. I don't know how they're going to do it. How they're going to pull it off. Okay. Remember, this is all new technology, and they could pull it off where, even though it's adaptive, that you still can really motor through at that 30, at 30 frames per second, 20 frames per second, 24 frames per second, something like that. But we'll see. Obviously, there's no data on it as of yet, so yet to be seen, I guess. Do you think that? Yes, we will have to say yes on, let's see, IBIS, AI, let's see, yes, heatsink. Yeah, Ron Paul was talking about when you can mold heatsink into the chassis and blow air on it from the outside. Yeah, the problem with that, Ron Paul, is you can't do it because you will, as soon as you put a heatsink into it that's not passive and it's active and you're blowing air over it through an inlet and through an exhaust, you've already, it's no longer weather sealed. You just can't do it. These cameras are just they're not made for that. If you need something like that, they're going to say, go buy our C series, for video or something. Our C series has that already. It has massive fans in there. And that's why we use C100s, 200s, 300s, 500s, or even the new, like a big 700 series for $39,000 or whatever for shooting video. Because they will run all day long at 4K and it won't hiccup. It won't even get warm. They're purpose built. It's purpose built. Let's see. Right. Great product. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Aurora rocks. Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah, the Aurora Camera Care product that I invented. You can find that over on my website at jchristina.com. You could use promo code YT20 and get 20% off, or you can go pick it up over on Amazon, which I love. Go there. You can get it through Prime, or you can go to B&H Photo and Video and go pick up any of those lens cleaning kits.
Is that available from Amazon UK?
Stop. It is not. And you push my button there. You push my button. All right. I'm not gonna rant, but just so you know, if you're watching from the UK, you cannot buy my product in the UK as of right now because they have this VAT thing going on that has gone crazy, and the Queen needs her due, and I get it, and I'm okay with it, but the methodology of being able to recoup the VAT is a problem, and they haven't figured it out yet. So I do have products sitting in the UK, but you can't buy it from the UK. You have to go and buy it somewhere else. Sadly, but maybe they'll figure it out. Maybe this whole Brexit thing, maybe there's light at the end of the tunnel, and that's it. That's 30 seconds. I'm not giving you a second more. Let me see.
You said you weren't going to comment at all, but you have.
Damn it! All the hell! Damn it! I couldn't help it. All right, let me see. OVF, yeah, for birds. Jonas says, I love the OVF for birds and action, type of wildlife stuff. Yes. I mean, when you're looking, so if a lot of you guys are not pros out there and you don't know the difference between an OVF and an EVF, basically an OVF, you're looking through the lens. What you see is the real world. What you see is what you see. That's it. An EVF that you get on a mirrorless is an augmented reality. It's not really what you see. It is what the camera is showing you.
Jump in here. If anybody has used any old style video camcorders, they had the OVF, didn't they?
Right.
EVF. Sorry.
EVF,
Yeah,
and it
EVF.
looked a mess.
When it was all black and white,
Right.
you look for the viewfinder, it's all black and white, and then when you move the camera like that, then your viewfinder would move afterwards. You know?
Yeah.
That's basically what it is. It's basically the same thing.
And the only reason why the EVFs are even half worth a damn compared to an OVF today is because, like you were talking about, they have 9+ million megapixels with 240 hertz, to be able to do it, so you don't get that flickering. The very first versions, they were horrible. You would see the blackout when you were taking pictures, and like Stuart was saying, as you moved around, it would be like delayed. But now they have better EVFs, and they have better processors to be able to run these EVFs. So they're getting there. Is it as good as an OVF? They're there. I still like my OVF. I don't know.
I think it would all come down to what type of photography you're doing.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. That's true. I agree with you.
If you're photographing fast-moving stuff, then an OVF is probably still better at this time.
I agree.
But if your subject isn't moving as much, then an EVF is fantastic.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, Robert does kick in here and say, and I have to concur, the S1H, and that's the Panasonic's camera. We use that on set regularly, and yes, it does have active cooling, and they say it's weather proof. Let's call it weather resistant. Also,
What's the focusing like on that one?
It's shit. But I'm not gonna rate. So I say this all
on that one.
No. So the focusing, the reason, so the S1H, the focusing is good for taking photographs. It's actually really quite good.
Is that the one with the fan in it? The
Yeah.
S1H?
Yeah. It does have a fan. He was commenting to the C70, the FX3, FP. So yes, there's a lot of cameras out there that state that they are weather resistant, weather proof, and they do have active cooling. But okay, while they do have active cooling, they are not going to be as weather resistant as something that's sealed. It just can't be.
There's different levels of it, isn't it? You got weather sealed, and then there's weather resistant.
There's different levels.
Yeah, they call it different things.
I mean, look, you have the iPhone, right? They got rid of the headphone jack. Why? For weather sealing, right? For water, so that these phones now you can dump them into water, and even if water gets into the speakers or into the mics in the back of the unit itself, what they'll do is they will shake these speakers to a certain vibration, and it'll actually ooze out the water out of the phone. Well, until I see these cameras shaking and spitting out the water due to high frequency, it's not weather sealed. I mean, it's close. I mean, yeah. I mean, to an extent. And just like you said, there's different grades. It just depends on what you need to do with it, Yes, I have to show that. I love that. Let's see what else we got here. So John says, I missed 80 minutes already. John, welcome. Thank you for being here. Welcome.
To be fair,
what we're going to do is
75 minutes of that was you moaning about Panasonic.
Yes, I think about, maybe even more. But anyways, guys, in this, let me just say, one last thing here before we get out of here. If you guys have any comments regarding what you think is going to happen with either the Z9 or the EOS R3, let us know, because when this is all over, in the comment area, because all of this chat stuff that we're doing here, none of it gets saved. All right, it'll play in the video after the fact, but it doesn't get saved. So all of this great information has to be like rewritten in the comments for it to be in there permanently, in perpetuity, as I always say, which I think is a hell of garbage. I think that it should be fixed. I think, in my personal opinion, I think YouTube should fix that, because I think this is important stuff. There's a lot of great questions that were asked that I would love to see that would be retained. But anyways, in the comment area, put your thoughts. What do you think about the EOS, R3? What do you think about the Z9? Do you think that the R3 is going to be an R3 and we're still going to have an R1? Do you think that the R3 is going to be high megapixels and the R1 will be low megapixels, like I speculate? Do you think? Put all of this stuff in there, because I think it's great fodder for good conversation. And that's the whole thing that we always try doing on your channel as well as my channel, is really good conversation where nothing is like really heated and it gets kind of out of hand. There's like usually no trolls on either one of our channels. I mean, I don't remember having to delete somebody, I would say, or mute them. It's got to be months. I would say a long time.
6 months ago.
There you go.
That guy was an idiot and deserved it anyway. So.
And I can tell you, Stuart, that's a blessing, and that's a blessing, and that's why I would like to say that if you guys haven't went and subscribed over to Stuart's channel, go and do that. Matter of fact, send me over the link, and I'm going to throw it in here. Or actually, you can throw it into the YouTube chat, and then I'll stick it later on into the comment.
Without it telling me off.
Is that? Stick it in there. Stick it in there. Let me see. Let me see. Yeah, same money and so well. Rick does say Apple got rid of the earphone jack he was trying to say save money and to sell their Bluetooth earbuds. Yes, there's always a side to Apple's doing. All right, they are a money making company, and they make a ton of it, and they know how to steal your money and steal mine. So that's absolutely the case. So anyways, do you have that? Put that definitely in the comment area. Put your YouTube channel, because I definitely want. I want it to, so this way it can pop up before we sign out. And I want to say, guys, as I always do, that if you haven't subscribed to my channel either, subscribe. There's a lot of people that comment that aren't subscribed. Many number of people. Also, if you have subscribed and you like this video and you like this content and you like our chat, definitely give this video a thumbs up. That will help the YouTube gods to look at this kindly and say, more people need to watch this because it's kind of interesting. Also, if you are subscribed, click the little bell icon over here. So when I go live, as we are right now, or when a new video comes out, I come out with about 2 or 3 a week, you will be notified of it immediately. And follow us over on the Discord channel. We have a creative Discord channel. I know Stuart's there all the time. I'm there, and hundreds of photographers, videographers, and tech heads. There's absolutely no trolls, sharing information 24/7, 365 days a year. Go to community.jchristina.com. Once again, community.jchristina.com. I'll throw that up on the screen so you can see that. And as I always say, go over to jchristina.com. You can find all of my photography tools that I've invented over there. Doesn't matter what it is, a focus pyramid if you still do shoot DSLRs, or the Aurora Camera Care, or a PRT. All that stuff is over there. You can use promo code YT20 and you'll get 20% off everything. So, Stuart, tell everyone where they can find you, and definitely put that into the comments so we can link that later on.
I'll put it in the comments. Yeah, you can find me by simply on any social media. Just type in Stuart Wood Art and you'll find me. Just look for my ugly mug. You'll know you're in the right place.
Are we going to do this? Are we going to do this again maybe next Friday? What do you think?
Yeah. Well, actually, why not?
You want to do it again? All right. Yeah. Well, there you go, guys. We will.
Eventually, I'll get a new computer and you'll be on my channel then.
I'm hoping. Yeah. I'm waiting for the.
I'll get there eventually.
I'm waiting for the invite. So, anyways, guys, thank you so much. Thank you, Stuart, for being here. Really appreciate each and every one of you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here, and many blessings to you and your family. Thank you so much. Stay safe and stay healthy. Take care, guys.
See you later.